Over 10 years ago, everything changed in the world of solo leveling due to the gates opening. Because before, a nation's might was determined by how big their army was, what kind of tanks, planes, ships they had, or even if they had a nuke. However, now the only thing that matters is how many S-rank hunters you have. Because these guys have the powers that make bombs and tanks look like child's play. Like, what are you gonna do against my guy Liu Zhigang, the #1 Chinese hunter who was able to defeat a freaking giant, or Thomas Andre, the #1 American hunter that closed a S-rank gate which destroyed half of America? You're doing nothing. You're sitting in the corner crying for Jin Woo to come and save your ass, because these hunters are beyond busted. Just look at their mana levels. It's so high that it can't even be measured. They're also treated as elite and the highest ranked people in society. Even if they commit a crime, they're so powerful that they can't be held accountable. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna put these people in jail? You need another S-rank hunter watching over them. Like, just look at when Hwang Dongsoo was about to kill Jin Woo because there would be no consequences for him. It's also important to note that when an S-rank hunter fights, mass destruction always occurs due to their sheer power and ferocity they have. Luckily, these hunters are very rare, as there are only 30 S-rankers that we know of, but it is estimated that there are around 100 of them in the world. But most are in countries like US, China, or India. So first, let's start with the S-rankers in Korea, among whom the most prominent is of course the 10th Korean S-ranker, our GOAT and the strongest hunter in the world, Sung Jinwoo. Jinwoo is different from the rest of the S-ranks though, as he's actually a member of the Monarchs, being the vessel of the Shadow Monarch Ashborn. As you will find out throughout this video, most of the big dogs in the S-rankers have the ruler's blessing, which gives them immense power higher than hunters below their rank. But Ashborn slowly trained Jinwoo into a vessel strong enough to fully absorb his powers through the system. And so in time, Jinwoo became the second Shadow Monarch. With this, he obtained immense strength, so powerful that by the end of the series, he could effortlessly repel the Frost Monarch's attacks with one hand, as well as kill the Beast Monarch in 4 hits. Most impressively though, he was able to fight on an even footing with Antares, the Dragon Monarch, who is the most powerful of the monarchs. Jinwoo's second awakening also granted him incredible speed, stealth, the ability to heal himself almost immediately, and accelerated development, an ability only he has. Most hunters after awakening can never get stronger, even after a second awakening. However, Jinwoo was granted the ability to constantly grow, which allowed him to become one of Asia's strongest hunters only after a few months of training. But besides the basics, Jinwoo also has some incredibly OP abilities. For example, he can use telekinesis via his ruler's authority, as well as having the power to make any enemy weaker than him cower in fear and despair thanks to his Haki Dragon Sphere. But Jinwoo's greatest power comes from the core essence of the Shadow Monarch's ability to arise.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Within this arsenal is Shadow Extraction, the ability to bring back souls from the dead and turn them into soldiers for his Shadow Army. This doesn't just apply to monsters though, as Jinwoo has arisen several humans as well, with Tank being the most prominent one. But I have done countless videos glazing this man, so go watch that. Let me instead glaze his pookie, Hae-in. While not nearly as strong as Jinwoo, Hae-in is still an exceptional hunter, as just like all the other S-rankers, she has amazing strength, durability, all of that, the basic stuff you get as S-ranker, you know. She was easily able to defeat in their sparring match and was also able to dodge some of Beru's attacks. These are one of Jinwoo's strongest shadows. But Hae-in's most prominent ability is her mana smell. This makes her smell super sensitive, causing hunters and monsters to smell foul to her. The only exception to this is of course Jinwoo. Hear that, guys? Maybe you guys should put on some deodorant. It takes as little time as smashing that like button. But Hae-in's main weapon is of course her sword, with ability abilities like Swords Dance, which significantly increases her attack speed, making it almost look like dancing. The second is a Sword of Light, transforming her blade into pure light and amplifying her cutting power. Her final attack is Quake of Provocation, where Hae-in stabs her sword into the ground, creating a small earthquake that damages the enemies within its radius. Her sword skills are exceptional, as she was able to decapitate the Ant Queen with just a single strike. Yet still, she was no match for the Ant King, where she got completely outclassed and needed her husband Jin Woo to swoop in and save her. Honestly, go watch the Hae-in video if you guys want more on Hae-in. I just wanted to get through these two guys first because we've made so many videos explaining these guys. So let's get to the interesting part of this video, talking about all the other S-rankers like Go-Gun-hee, who is the most pivotal hunter in Korea. He is the chairman of Korea's Hunter Association. He's also probably the second strongest hunter, just behind Jin Woo in Korea. But the reason for Go-Gun-hee's power is because, just like Jin Woo, he is a vessel for a higher power, the rulers. His ability is showcased most prominently during his fight with the Frost Monarch, where he was able to keep up with the monster's attacks and was strong enough to shatter large layers of ice with a single headbutt, easily deflecting an energy blast from the Frost Monarch with just his bare hand. But his most unique ability are his senses, which are sharp enough to detect the presence of other S-rank hunters from afar, where Go-Gun-hee had already sniffed out Jin Woo's true power before everyone else. However, his old age prevented him from using his powers to their full potential, which was also a problem for him in the original timeline where he died against the Frost Monarch. Yet despite knowing he couldn't win, Go-Gun-hee fought fiercely to delay Siddharth and buy time for Jin Woo. Initially holding his own, his body eventually gave out, leaving him vulnerable to a fatal stab. In a final effort, Go-Gun-hee destroyed the barrier around him, allowing an ant in his shadow to alert Jin Woo. Though his plan succeeded, forcing Siddharth to retreat, Jin Woo found Go-Gun-hee critically injured and beyond saving. Refusing the holy water of life, Go-Gun-hee expressed gratitude and urged Jin Woo to stand with humanity in the coming war. Regardless of that, he's still insanely strong and served as a great mentor figure for Jin Woo. But hunters don't have to be a vessel in order to transform, as Baek Yoonho, the leader of the White Tigers Guild, is an S-rank hunter that specializes in transformation magic. Baek can become a tiger-like monster with white fur, sharp claws, and prominent fangs, which significantly increases his strength and speed. He's also able to partially transform and choose specific body parts to change. This was displayed when he only transformed his hands and hair during his sparring match with the Japanese hunter Kumomoto. Baek also has the ability Eyes of the Beast, which allows him to read the strength levels of a monster or another hunter. As a bonus, this skill also enhances his reflexes. Also, using this skill, he was one of the first people to understand the extent of Jin Woo's true power. Even though he is S-rank, Baek is considered one of the weakest S-rankers in the whole world, as told to us by Hanekawa. That's why bro tried to recruit Jin Woo to his guild. Like, he tried so hard. He was on his dick the whole manga, I swear to God. However, one of the stronger Korean S-rankers is Cho Jong-in, who specializes in fire magic, as well as being the leader of Korea's strongest guild, the Hunters Guild. His flames are able to destroy a tall building with a single spell, being powerful enough to wipe out entire hordes of ants and incinerate an entire group of earth giants in a matter of seconds. You see why like armies and tanks don't matter to these S-rankers? Like, bro snaps a finger and your entire army gets burned, bro. Cho Jong-in can also manipulate fire in multiple ways, such as with Flame Spear and Flame Prison, molding it in any way that he sees fit and effective. His signature attack is a Flame Dragon, where Cho is able to mold a spinning mass of fire into the shape of a small dragon, which he uses to burn away enemy nearby to ash. This guy is no joke, because even after tanking a slash from the Ant King, Cho was able to move and stay conscious. His powers are also thanks to his insane mana pool, where it is said that only nation-level hunters like Christopher Reid or Jin Woo with his black heart can surpass him. And about nation-level hunters, we'll get to that soon. There are only 5 of these guys, and they are on a different caliber of power. Furthermore, you guys remember the statue of God at the start of the series? Well, Jong-in was fast enough to dodge its laser eyes, which incinerated many other hunters. There is a reason bro is known as Korea's ultimate hunter. Inversely, another Korean guild is the Fiend Guild, led by S-ranker Lim Tae-Gyu.
Who?
He is a range hunter who mainly uses a bow and arrow. Okay, we get it, bro. This guy hasn't shown up much throughout the series, but he's a major S-ranker in Korea, okay? In fact, Lim and Baek actually founded the Fiend Guild together back in the day. And back then, they were known as the strongest guild in Korea. However, after Baek left to create his own White Tiger Guild, bro fell off. We first got to witness Lim's true power right before the Jeju Island raid, when he attended the meeting between the Korean and Japanese S-ranks and participated in a 4v4 sparring match, facing Minoru Hoshino. While he briefly forced Minoru on the defensive with his arrows, he was quickly overpowered and eliminated. Later, Lim watched in awe as Goto Ryuji, the strongest Japanese hunter, sparred with Jin Woo, their speed too fast for him to follow. Honestly, being a long-range type hunter, a 1v1 is probably not the ideal spot to show off your abilities, you know? But with a bow in hand, using his magic arrows, Lim was able to pierce the Ant Queen's skin. Byung-Gyu is up next, and this guy is different from every other S-rank hunter we have talked about so far. This is because Byung is a healer. He is a master at healing magic, being able to almost instantly heal his comrades from severe wounds. I mean, he was able to heal Baek back to his prime condition after receiving poisonous wounds from the Ant Queen, as well as being able to heal Hae-in back from the brink of death. And while he wasn't that great in combat, he still had the strength of an A ranker. Furthermore, he might be a healer, but he's also able to use buff magic, increasing his comrades' abilities. Finally, Byung has the power Disguise, which allows him to blend in with his surroundings, hiding all traces of his presence. In simpler terms, bro becomes invisible. The only downside is that he can't move when this is active, making him an easier target if the enemy is able to track him down. And sadly, he did die in the battle against the ants, as he was temporarily revived as a member of the Shadow Army. But Jin Woo, realizing he would be damning Byung to a life of war after finally being free from it, decides to let him go after healing his injured comrades. Also, every time I kept reading Byung, I kept thinking of Byung, the Dokaibi from Omniscient Reader. Yo, shout out to everyone who's read Omniscient Reader. Anyway, coming back to solo leveling, one of the comrades Byung helped heal was Ma Dongwook, S-rank guild master of the Fame Guild. And I won't lie, this guy is low-key cannon fodder. He only becomes 2 times big.
This nigga is trash.
But he doesn't have any other outstanding powers or feats. Like, he got packed up pretty quick by the Japanese hunter Konzo, so that's that. And bro literally got his arm torn off, getting thrown around like a doll from the Ant King. That's why he needed Jin Woo to come in and save his ass, like every other S-ranker on this list. But the final Korean S-rank I want to tell you about is, of course, Sung Il-Hwan, or Jin Woo's father, or the first S-rank hunter in Korea and probably the world. But everything changed a decade before the events of the main story. Hwan would get trapped in a dungeon, leaving the entire world, including his family, to presume him dead. However, before he died, he was found by the rulers, who made him one of their 7 vessels, similar to Gogun Hee. Jinwoo's dad's mission was to kill the new Shadow Monarch as soon as he was born, and because he didn't have any way to escape, he agreed to their demands. But as we all know, that new Shadow Monarch would end up being his own son, Sung Jinwoo, who would fight the monarchs in place of the rulers. And so, with their greatest enemy now their ally, Hwan was finally able to reunite and fight for his son, dying by protecting the one he loved. Just like all other humans, Jinwoo's dad's speed and strength are incredible, but he's at a much greater level than even some of the strongest S-ranks, as he made Hwang Dongsoo look like an ant compared to him, easily leaving him hospitalized for an extended period of time. His true power is demonstrated during the battle against the Frost and Beast Monarchs, where he was able to stab the Beast Monarch right through the jaw, as well as counter the Frost Monarch's barrage of icicles with little to no trouble. Like, he was stalling them so Jinwoo can lock in again. He's also a master of stealth, being able to camouflage with surroundings, hiding all traces of his presence. And just like every other ruler vessel, he can use the ruler's authority and spiritual body manifestation. However, I think I want to do a dedicated video on Sung Jinwoo's dad, because their story goes way deeper. So let me know in the comments if you guys want more solo leveling. But now, let's move on to Japan. And there, we're gonna learn about an S-ranker who instead should be called the L-ranker. This guy, Goto Ryuji, master of Japan's Draw Sword Guild. We met him because bro wanted to become a national level hunter, which is a rank even higher than S. It's so rare that only 5 people exist with this title. So Goto was hoping that by clearing the S rank gate of the ants in Jeju Island, he could finally be promoted, because all of the nation level hunters have at least cleared one S rank gate. 4 days before the raid, Goto met the Jeju Island raid party at the Korean Hunters Gym. He watched as Jin Woo easily incapacitated Atsushi Kumomoto during a sparring match with Hae-in. Doubting Jin Woo's classification as a mage-type hunter, Goto challenged him to a 1v1 match. Despite his speed and skill, Goto couldn't land a single hit, even after unleashing his full power and giving Jin Woo a minor cut. That's all he did. He used his entire strength, 100% of his potential, and he gave him a little cut, bro. Realizing Jin Woo hadn't been taking him seriously, Goto lost his temper, but the match ended with no victor when Kei and Hoshino intervened. During the raid, Goto split his guild into 4 teams. When contact was lost with Team Charlie and Delta, he discovered their corpses. Unmoved, Goto revealed to Chairman Matsumoto that the Japanese hunters' true aim was to sabotage the Korean S-rank team. Bro wanted to have all the Korean hunters die to weaken Korea as a powerful nation, because in solo leveling, the more S rankers you have, the fiercer is your country. With most of their mission complete, Matsumoto ordered the survivors to abandon the raid, but as Goto prepared to retreat, the Ant King ambushed them, leading to Goto getting one shot. We aren't done though, because it was a massacre for the Japanese at Jeju Island. Now, I'm not gonna lie, most of these Japanese S rank hunters were fodders to the Ant King, but we did get a sort of small tournament arc between Korea and Japan, where we found out that most of these guys actually bested their Korean counterparts. These guys are fodder, but the Korean S rankers are even bigger fodders. So let me quickly blitz through all of them. First up is Team Charlie's Kenzo Tanaka. At the 4v4 sparring match, he faced off against the S rank Ma Dongwook, easily defeating him by drilling the man into the ground with his enhanced strength. During the raid, he was actually one of the Japanese hunters that managed to kill a few ants before ultimately getting his head chopped off by the Ant King. It wasn't just him though, as Team Charlie's Akari Shimizu, the healer of the group, and Tatsumi Fujishima, who wielded a sword, also get clapped without getting the chance to even show their skills. What about Team Delta? They have to have fared better, and nope, they did not fare better. It consisted of Kei and Ippei, 2 of the people with one of the best designs in the Japanese sides, and interestingly, Kei actually has the same power as Hae-in, mana smell. His nose is extremely sensitive to mana. However, it's way worse for him than Hae-in, as he is forced to wear a thick mask whenever he goes out on raids. But this ability actually helped him sniff out the Ant King's presence the fastest, yet sadly, bro couldn't do anything and still ended up getting packed. However, unlike the other Japanese hunters, we actually learned that Kei is skilled at ice magic, where he could create massive amounts of ice as he instantly erected a wall to defend against the Ant King. A big feat of Kei's is that he's one of the only people in solo leveling to have stopped a fight involving Jin Woo through his ice barrier. Ippei, on the other hand, was like a sitting duck, instantly getting sliced by the Ant King before we even got to hear a word from bro. Unlike these other bozos, the next few Japanese S rankers actually made it out alive. First is Atsushi Kumomoto, who took part in the 4v4 sparring match, starting his bout against Baek before shifting his focus to Hae-in. However, when he became overly aggressive, Jin Woo had to step in to protect his Pookie, instantly subduing him after he refused to relent. This guy going toe-to-toe against Hae-in speaks to the Japanese hunter's strength, because in the manhwa, they all just seem like small fries as we move on to larger threats like the Ant King or the Monarchs, but against other S rankers, they shouldn't be discounted. Like Kumomoto's Berserker state, it is a tier on its own, as whenever he is severely injured, it causes him to attack indiscriminately with no sense of fear or self-control. However, I should point out that it's kind of unclear whether this ability is a passive skill, a mental illness, or some kind of defense mechanism. Honestly, it might be a mental illness. During the raid, Kumomoto was assigned to Team Bravo, the only Japanese team to have lived. He wasn't alone though, as Kanae Tawata and Minoru Hoshino also made it out being part of Team Bravo. Hoshino made quick work of Lim during their sparring match, and during the raid, he was actually part of Team Alpha alongside Goto. After they lost communications, bro stumbled upon the other two teams' headless corpses and freaked the f out. Luckily, Hoshino heard Goto's command before he died and retreated to join the surviving Team Bravo. In terms of power, he just has the standard enhanced speed and strength. Kanae, on the other hand, faced off against Hae-in during the sparring match and absolutely got clapped due to our queen's superhuman speed. Finally, there's also Reiji Sugimoto, the current guildmaster of the Draw Sword Guild after Goto got packed. Reiji was the only S-rank hunter in Draw Sword not participating directly in the raid. He was instead stationed aboard a battleship off the island's coast overseeing operations. As Jin Woo fought the Ant King, Reiji informed Matsumoto Shigeo, the chairman of the Japanese Hunters Association, of Goto's death and assisted Hoshino, Kanae, and Kumomoto in evacuating the island. After hearing Hoshino's account of Goto's death, Reiji calmed him, revealing the Korean Hunter Association's announcement that a Korean hunter had defeated the Ant King, ensuring the raid's success despite heavy losses. However, the surviving S-rankers of Japan's story doesn't end there, as we move on to the Japan Crisis arc. Months later, when an S-rank gate appeared in central Tokyo, Reiji enlisted the Russian S-rank hunter Yuri Orlov, agreeing to his exorbitant 10 million per day fee to create a barrier. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the others like Kanae, well, they could barely dodge a giant's attack. I'm talking about like fodder giant's attack. These are like small fry minions from the S-rank gate, okay? And they couldn't even dodge that shit. Orlov actually has a special set of skills with his barrier magic that could aid in stopping whatever was inside the S-rank giant gate from leaking out. This man easily stopped Kanae and Hoshino with his barriers. However, when the S-rank gate finally broke, his ultimate barrier was sliced in half like butter. Ultimately, they needed Daddy Jin Woo to come in and save the day once again for Japan. However, after the rulers used the Cup of Reincarnation one last time on Jin Woo's request, Yuri was revived and lost all his memories of the original timeline. In the new timeline, 2 years after the Great Cataclysm, Yuri regained his powers as a hunter, where he used his abilities to erect mana barriers around every major urban city, protecting them from magic beasts in his homeland of Russia, elevating himself as Minister of National Defense for the Russian Federation. This earned him high praise from his country, and even more when he became the new Prime Minister in less than half a year. This just goes to show how revered S-rankers are. However, Yuri's rise to power wasn't just about helping the nation, as it was an open secret that the hunter assassinated the former Russian Prime Minister. Not only that, but he had the nation's president act as his puppet, making Russia an authoritarian state under his control. Currently, bro is busy trying to figure out a way to kill Jin Woo's son, Sun Su-ho, after witnessing our boy summon a whole shadow army in India. And speaking of India, they have their own busted S-ranker who is said to be the 4th strongest in the whole world. His name is Siddharth Bachchan. Honestly, with a name like that, no wonder bro is the strongest. You know, what do you guys think Sid was short for, huh? I didn't want to reveal it this way, guys, but I gotta be honest, I'm actually him. I am the 4th strongest in solo leveling. It's me. I know. This should come as a shock, yeah.
Shut your lame ass up, man.
Now, in the original solo leveling manual, we only get a name drop for Siddharth. However, in Ragnarok, after the timeline is reset, he plays a much bigger role. After he regains his powers and his status as one of the strongest hunters in the world, due to being a former host of a ruler, his memories of the previous timeline return to him naturally. Thinking he was the only one who could remember the previous timeline, Siddharth believed himself to be divinely chosen and had a role to play in humanity's future. So he sought to restore his former power as a national level hunter. That desire led him to become a willing victim to the corruption of the apostates, who promised him power as long as he became a willing host. While he agreed to be a host, his new allies required more hosts for their kind. Siddharth, knowing of Jin Woo's role in the previous timeline as its savior and believing he could capture him and offer him to the apostates, I keep saying apostate. It's apostles. Why do I keep saying apostates? Siddharth, knowing of Jin Woo's role in the previous timeline as its savior and believing he could capture him and offer him to the apostles, attempted to locate the hunter, but to his dismay, he was unable to find a trace of the man. It's so weird to say my own name over and over again, bro. Due to this, he was forced to abandon his plans and develop a new one of using the essence of the extinct dragons to create dragon-human hybrids that would be suitable hosts for the apostles. Now, there's a lot more to the apostles and everything I'm yapping on about in Ragnarok, but I think I will make a separate video going arc by arc of all the events on Ragnarok, so wait for that video. Let me know in the comments if you guys want more Ragnarok content, because Ragnarok manga, I've only read about 50 chapters, but it's kind of pretty peak. Now, let's move a little bit north of India and onto China, as we have their S-rank Liu Zhigang, who is ranked second in the world. He's one of the ruler's vessels, which means just like Jin Woo, his strength is on another level, such as being able to use the ruler's authority and spiritual body manifestation. He was also the strongest hunter in Asia until obviously being dethroned by Jin Woo. His strength and speed are nearly unmatched, being able to swiftly behead a giant before it even got a chance to counter. Remember, Hoshino and Kanae of Japan barely could dodge one. Liu's signature attack is an energy blast, which allows him to fire off explosive blasts with the swing of his sword, all of which are very wide-ranged and incredibly powerful. To give an example, this attack was able to easily wipe out an entire remaining army of the ants in Jeju Island after the raid concluded. In Ragnarok, Liu would regain his powers and his status as one of the strongest hunters in the world. However, due to not being a ruler's vessel anymore, he was not as powerful as he was in the original timeline and was thus given a ranking of only 6 stars by the Chinese government instead of 7. Although the apostles eventually approached him and offered more power if he allowed them to take control of his body, Zhigang refused to serve their cause and was able to resist their attempts to possess him by force for the next 2 years. He also met Sung Suho during his time in India, which led to a misunderstanding of Suho being a criminal, but when Suho defeated him, he was able to remember his life in the original timeline, but along with revealing Suho's identity as Jin Woo's son. Now, you think we know little about Liu Zhigang? Think again, because we have Jonas from Brazil, who was the 6th ranked S-ranker of the world, but before we even get to meet him, the monarchs got to him first, as his body was found dead just days after he went missing. Similar to Jonas, Jay Mills is also shrouded in mystery, even though being Canada's strongest hunter and ranking at number 17 in the world. The only time we even see him is during the final battle. When Jin Woo warned the world about the monarchs and their impending invasion, Jay was quick to dismiss his words as total nonsense and remained determined to defend Canada from the gigantic gate that had spawned there several days earlier. Jay was there when Antares, the strongest monarch, emerged from the gate and asked the humans for the location of their king. Since he had no idea that Antares was looking for Jin Woo, Jay arrogantly claimed himself to be the king and prepared for battle. However, before he could even attack, Antares, bro, was burned to crisp. Lennart Niermann is a little different though. He is Germany's strongest hunter, ranking 12th in the whole world. This man has balls made of steel, being the first to arrive on the battlefield against the Beast Monarch in Japan. However, while being significantly stronger than most other S-rank hunters and only slightly weaker than national level hunters, Lennart couldn't do much against the monarchs, only being able to slightly disorient the Beast Monarch for a time. However, he was able to hold off the monarchs alongside other hunters long enough for Jin Woo to arrive, so I guess he's not entirely useless. His main ability is Charge, where Lennart is able to manifest 2 transparent teal gauntlets around his arms and fire powerful blasts of energy at his targets. Now, let's move on to our final country with known S-rank hunters, America. The weakest known S-ranker in the US is Hwang Dongsoo, who immigrated there a few years ago from Korea. After hearing Jin Woo killed his little brother, Hwang's hatred for our goat grew until eventually confronting Sung Jinwoo head on. This wouldn't go so well for him, as he would be killed and forced into the Shadow Army, but that doesn't mean he wasn't an impressive hunter. His powers were upgraded by Norma Selner, and his strength level far exceeds most of the S-Ranks back in Korea. He doesn't possess any specialized abilities, but rather fights with pure might. His strength is immense, as he's able to effortlessly break a steel pole and has durability so enhanced, he was able to get back up and continue fighting even after Jin Woo brutally stomped all over him. After being arisen from death and joining the Shadow Army, he was renamed to Greed, where he maintained enhanced versions of his previous techniques, along with the ability to regenerate and stay alive forever like the entire Shadow Army. He basically became Jin Woo's bit. Even in Ragnarok, after the timeline got reset, bro is now part of Suho's army. But Christopher Reid is much stronger than Hwang Dongsoo, as he's ranked number 3 in the entire world. Now, for as strong as he is, we didn't get to see much from him, as he was killed by 3 of the monarchs. Yes, bro got jumped by 3, but what made him so strong was his connection to the ruler, serving as their vessel. He was of course able to use ruler's authority, and his spiritual body manifestation transformed him into a one-eyed giant with flaming orange hair. The flames he produced were so potent, it took 14 S-rankers to extinguish them. When I say the difference between national level hunters and S-rankers is high, like it is immense. Like think of it like going from A rank to S rank, how big that jump is. In Ragnarok, Chris would regain both his powers and his status as one of the strongest hunters in the world. However, due to being a ruler's vessel in the original timeline, he was eventually targeted and subsequently possessed. This eventually forced the number 1 ranked hunter to confront and kill him in battle. Now, if you are wondering who is the number 1 ranked hunter, well, he is America's Thomas Andre. This is the only hunter who I'd argue stands on equal footing with Sung Jinwoo when they first interact in the manga, before our goat gains all of the Shadow Monarch's powers, of course. Just like Christopher Reid, Thomas is a vessel for the rulers, being able to use spiritual body manifestation, which transforms his body into a gold armor suit with incredible power. This is his ability Reinforcement, which drastically buffs both Thomas's defense and attack power. The defense buff is so great, even Jin Woo's hands got bruised from punching away at Thomas's armor. His speed, durability, and strength are immaculate, being able to fight on even footing with the Beast Monarch. He was also able to keep up with Jin Woo even after having one of his arms broken. He has several unique abilities, all showcasing why he's as strong as he is. One of these is Capture, where Thomas uses telekinesis to pull in objects towards himself. When using Reinforcement alongside this, it's said that the attack is like a black hole, sucking everything in unless ruler's authority is used. This attack is so strong, it was able to pull the dragon Kamish, the strongest monster humanity had faced prior to the monarchs, out of the sky. In fact, it was Thomas who even cleared Kamish's S-rank dungeon, which destroyed the US West Coast. The second ability is Collapse, where Thomas smashes his fists into the ground, greeting a giant shockwave which destroys anyone and anything unfortunate enough to be in its radius. Finally, there is Power Smash, where Thomas infuses all of his mana into a single arm, delivering an extremely powerful punch. This guy is him, and if Jin Woo wasn't in the picture, he would outclass every other hunter in the world. In Ragnarok, Thomas plays a pivotal part, so much so that that's a whole video on its own. But if I end up making Thomas Andre explained video, I'll do a deep dive on the events of Ragnarok too. Honestly, I would love to cover Ragnarok chapters whenever they drop, so if there's enough interest by you guys, me and Zach will cover Ragnarok, and after this video, Zach is voicing a lot of the solo leveling videos, so show him some love and let us know in the comments, should we cover the stuff in Ragnarok, because there's so much content in Ragnarok. Anyway, watch the video on screen if you guys want to watch more solo leveling videos. Bye bye.